Welcome, everyone. This is Kari. I'm here with Colleen and Cheryl, and we're doing the Creative Memories Project Recipe Wonderful Day this evening. So I'm glad that you're joining us or watching the video of our session. So I wanted to start out with showing you the project recipe and what it looked like, and it's really a versatile but fun layout. So Creative Memories designed this to use two base papers, cut one paper, and use some cardstock as a punch. So the two designer papers or the one designer paper that you cut is what they have shown up with these two triangles, one with this plaid and the other one has this tonal brown color here. You can see this, and they put that at the top and the bottom of the layout. And then they used a border maker cartridge to cut or punch out these strips that they put behind the frames. So a couple of comments before doing this layout. One, when you're choosing your paper that you're actually going to cut these triangles out of, you want to pay attention if you have a design on it that the direction is important, because when you're cutting you're going to want to pay attention to that. But also you're flipping over to the other side for that. So depending on what's on the other side, you may have to make some modifications or just be attentive to that. The other comment is based on the way this is laid out. They wanted you to see this entire border at the bottom and at the top, but if you have more photos, you can definitely make some adjustments and shift things around. Also, on the right page, if you really have more photos and you don't want to do these extra 3 border maker chain strips over here, you don't have to do those. So if you need some more space and don't want to have that on that side of the layout, and that is also going to work out just fine. So again, you need 2 base papers, one designer sheet to cut where the two sides actually contrast each other, and one, it's actually partial sheet of cardstock. And I found that it was much easier to pick what color cardstock I was going to do once I kind of had my layout going. So you might know what you want to use based on your papers, but you might decide later on that you want to figure that out after you kind of assemble the rest of the base of the paper. For anybody who's doing this layout digitally, it definitely is a mirror image of each other. So you will be able to basically design one page and then mirror image it and decide the other. And I will probably record that as a separate video. So again, 2 base papers, 1 paper to cut, 1 cardstock to punch, and you're going to want to use 1 border maker cartridge to do those punches. This will come together really easily. The way they have the designer paper number 1 marked on the back with both the direction of how they're doing these triangle cuts, as well as how they labeled A, B, C, D, all the way up to H, is really helpful when you're creating the layout. If you can keep these in order on your table or label them with post-it notes or flags, that will make it really easy to assemble this layout, and it'll be very obvious to you that which ones you're having to reverse and flip over. So I'm going to go head over to my table and make a couple of other observations before I get started. So as I was looking at this layout, I have adhered down some white cardstock just to show where the photos are and how they're laid out and arranged on this page. So there end up being 4 6x4 photos and 2 3.5 by 5.5 photos. But again, like I said, you can modify it. There's a lot that you can do. But one thing that was interesting to me is that if you kind of ignore my photo mats and my border chains, if you flip the layout on the right side, instead of having those big triangles, you have this diagonal across the top and across the bottom, which I thought was also kind of a neat look. So you could do that. The other thing you could do was you could take them and have them more like this, where you've got those triangles together in the middle, which was also an interesting look. I'm not so sure that I was in love with this, but you could do it with the other ones matching in the center. And so I thought that there was a lot of versatility with even just the bases of how this ended up coming together. So hopefully you'll find this project recipe useful and versatile. And if there are not any questions, I will go ahead and get started. So I used Food Truck Fun for my sample. And I am going to go ahead and I'm using another older one. I'm going to use Hello Autumn. And so I'm using this paper and I'm going to cut this. I'm going to use these two as my base. And I'm going to use the Hot Fudge cardstock as for my border punch. So like I said before, directional paper is a little bit more challenging for this, but it can work. So you just have to be attentive if you're going to assemble the layout like this, actually like this. If you have stripes or words and you want them to go like this, you're going to just want to pay attention to them as you're cutting. So the cuts are really, really very nice and easy. So we are going to cut our piece of paper at 2 inches, and we're going to do 4 of those. So 2 inches wide, and there are 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to take the piece that has the big piece that's left over, the 4-inch piece, and I'm going to rotate it and I'm going to cut it at 6 inches. And that's my 2 photo mats. And I'm just going to set those aside. So again, 4 pieces that are 2 inches. And then the last piece, turn and rotate it and at 6 inches. So you end up with 2 4x6 photo mats. And then we're going to do all of our triangle cuts. So they have it. So you want to go from the upper right corner to the lower left corner. So again, upper right corner to the lower left corner. So you're going to do your first cut like this. Upper right to lower left. And you can always double check with your guides to make certain you're actually going from corner to corner. And those are the first 2. So these 2 I'm going to lay out up here. So those are A and B. So A is the...
Kari, can you say those instructions one more time? I'm sorry.
Yes. You're going to take your piece and you're going to cut from the upper right corner to the lower left corner. So you're taking this rectangle, cutting it on the diagonal. So you end up with 2 triangles. So upper right to lower left. Does that make sense?
No, I'm sorry.
The 2-inch wide piece,
Right.
we're cutting it on a diagonal to get 2 triangles.
Okay.
Okay. You want the upper right corner at the top of your trimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And you want the lower left corner at the bottom of your trimmer. So when it cuts diagonally, you're going to go from the upper right to the lower left.
And you want both of those pieces with the same side up. right?
Correct, right, yes.
Because that's what
For
all,
right now, yes. For right now, yes. This one is gonna be that side up. All of these pieces, you're gonna cut that way. You're gonna cut with the same side up. We'll flip them when we make the layout. We won't flip anything now.
Oh, so when we're putting on the little labels, so we put A and B on the
A
first,
on B on the first two.
okay, and then
Yep.
on the second two, we don't reverse it.
Correct. You just
We-
leave it,
oh.
you leave it the same way. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that was A and B. Are we good?
yep,
So now you're going to do the exact same thing again. Okay. You're going to go from the upper right to the lower left. Do the exact same thing. And this is C and D. So just put those next to them. Keeping them still the same way up. Now I'm going to go to the third piece. And now I'm going to go from the upper left corner to the lower right corner. Again, I'm not flipping my paper over yet. I'm just keeping it the same way. So I'm going from the upper left to the lower right. And that is G and H. And now the last one is the same as what we just did. So upper left to lower right on the diagonal. Again, we have not flipped any papers yet. And this piece is G and H.
I thought we just cut G and H.
I did too. I'm
We
confused.
did, sorry, we did EF and then GH. Maybe I misspoke.
You
So I misspoke. So the third set was E and F and then G and H, and they're going to be the same. That doesn't think since we cut them exactly the same, it's going to be fine. So we should have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, H.
And I apologize, the way you cut A and B and C and D. Can you
Are
say-
identical. Here's A, B, C, D, E and F, and G and H.
So A and B, you start from the
Upper right,
upper right. Okay,
and then go down to the lower left.
got it.
It's also in the chat. I don't know if that helps anybody.
I'm sorry, I'm not even looking at that.
Okay.
Appreciate it though.
These are triangles, which means it's geometry, which means I've already messed up a set.
And it'll be okay. It will just be okay. We'll make it work. All right. So we should end up with 8 triangles. So I am thinking I'm gonna not punch our border yet. I'm gonna go ahead and put these on our base papers so you can see how these come together. And then we'll have our A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H all dealt with. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you take A, take piece A, and you're gonna put it down on the leftmost page at the top so that the long side of the right triangle, right angle portion is in the upper right corner of your layout.
Okay.
Now I'm really using geometry because I'm challenged by words to describe it, but look at my sample, it's easier. So that's A. And then B is still right side up. And it's gonna go in the lower corner on your right page. Okay. We good so far?
Hmm.
Sort of.
Yep.
C, we're gonna take and we're gonna flip it over. And we're gonna put it on our lower left page.
Gets flipped.
C gets flipped. And then we're gonna take D and it gets flipped and it goes on our upper right page. Then E is flipped. And it's gonna go on the upper side of our left page. F gets flipped and it goes on our lower right. So now you should see it starting to come together.
Wait, what? No.
E was on the upper left and it was flipped over. F was flipped over and it was on the lower right.
Okay.
G, we don't flip over and it goes on our lower left. And H does not get flipped over and it goes on our upper right.
Yowza.
And I'm in awe of the person who designed this and had it laid out and it because it is correct the way it is on the project recipe. So
Yeah.
I think let's pause the recording and have everybody take a moment to adhere this to their base before we go ahead and punch our border maker cartridges.
Me too.
Huh.
So now that we have adhered all of these triangles to our base papers, I just want to point out to you, there's a number of different orientations that you could do this in again. So before we go ahead and punch our border maker cartridge, you may want to take a look at it and see how you want to orient this. So this is the way mine ended up being laid out when I took it just the way it was. And remember, it could go upside down. So instead of having the leaves as my big triangle at the top, I can have this other blue and green piece at the top. Instead of even doing it this way, I could rotate one of my papers. So now I have this going across the top instead of having the big triangle. I have this parallelogram kind of going across the side. It looks like a diagonal, which is kind of neat. So you can do it either way, whichever way you like, and whichever way you think is going to work out best for your layout and your pictures. You can also conceivably do it like this, where you rotate them into these triangles that we've put are now going vertically as opposed to horizontally. So, and if you didn't want like the leaves in the middle, you could have it like this with that in the middle. So there's many, many different orientations you can use for this, which is one reason I really think this layout was really neat. And in addition, kudos to the people at the home office who created this project recipe, because I think they did an amazing job of labeling how this got cut and how it got assembled, because I think it was actually done very easily. So that's also a wonderful thing. So one thing I had noticed when I did my sample layout is that I got to this point and the paper that I thought I was going to punch using my border maker ended up not having enough contrast with the way these papers came together. So I ended up changing to a different cardstock. In addition, a couple of people here noticed, and I had noticed this earlier, that the base paper that you pick might not work. So you may have to change your base paper here. But since you're covering up so much of it with your photos, which I'll go back to my sample, you can see these white spaces are actually supposed to be the photos. These are not photo mats. These are just photo holders so people could see how it was going to end up working. You don't see a whole lot of your base paper, and sometimes we have, our favorite base paper that we really don't, we want it to be seen on our layouts, and maybe you need to change things up a little bit for that. So hopefully that was helpful. And again, here I use the cranberry because it contrasted really well with all the papers that I chose from this food truck fun. So now I'm actually going to use this brown because I felt that that was going to contrast well. And I'm going to use that for my punches. So I've got these two photo mats, and if you know exactly what photos you're going to use, you can actually, adhere this to your page. Things to be attentive to is if you're going to keep them vertical like the sample is, you can move them in or move them out on your page wherever you want them. If you have many photos and maybe you do not want to have that strip over on the right-hand side with the 3 border chains and that photo mat there, and you only want to punch 3, you can do that too. So again, lots of options. You could always make this your own. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and punch 6 of my border maker cartridge punch here. So what I always do, and what we've been recommending for now, for years, is I punch mine on a piece of parchment paper that's wrapped around some cardboard. So I use the cardboard that comes with some of our products, and I wrap it with parchment paper. And I do that because all the little pieces and parts that fall off of the punch, then I can just empty it into the trash really easily. So again, our border maker cartridge system, you use it by flipping the blue tray out until it clicks, and then you put your paper in all the way until it reaches the edge. And then you put down the ruler, the magnet, hold it in place. Then you flip the blue piece out of the way and it goes back underneath. And you put in your border maker cartridge into the holder. So I'm using, this is actually a very old border maker cartridge, but I decided I hadn't used it in a while. It was good to pull out. So I'm using this button chain. So you put it in until it clicks, and then it's pretty much foolproof to be able to guide it into the slot. So you slide it in so your paper will actually slide into the punch, and when the holder goes in and nestles in nicely, you can punch pulling down the lever, and then if you slide your holder out and slide it back in, you're less likely to get paper caught and bunched up inside of it. So you're going to just slide it in and out, move it up your paper, and then cut it until you get all the way to the top. And as you can see, since I'm doing these buttons, I have all these little dots, which are going to would get everywhere on my table, and I would be cleaning them up for the next week and a half. So, or maybe longer. So now I've got one punch. I'm going to go ahead and do all 6 of mine and do them all the same way. So other people running live, what punch are you using tonight? Or maybe not.
I don't know the name of it.
I'm looking for the box. I just got this, boy, I'm using a punch. I know it's gonna take up more room, but I wanted to try it.
Awesome. Okay, we'll figure out the name when we see your layout later.
Yeah, I don't know.
Took it out of the box. I don't know where the box was already.
So for people who are watching the recording, there really are people here doing the layout with me. They were just very quiet when I asked them a question. And if you end up like what I did, I ended up with this little extra piece that didn't get punched off. I just used my Creative Memories trimmer, nice little scissors, and trim that little piece off. Now I feel like I've got a lot of little button pieces sitting here and they're getting in my way. I'm gonna go ahead and take this over to my trash can and dump it.
Kari, I used the diamond link chain, the new one that was in the secret box.
Oh, nice, nice.
Using
Okay.
that one too. I like this one.
Yeah.
Pretty.
It could be used for a lot of different things.
I look forward to seeing the fact that you guys are using different papers and how that turns out. So again, if you're going to do 3 on both sides, you need 6. I've done 5. And we've done the hard part of the assembly, so the last part should come together pretty easily. So now I've got all 6 of mine punched. And one thing I do like to do before I put this extra piece of cardstock into my pile, because this is big enough that I'm going to save it and reuse it later. This edge that I have is really jaggedy, so I'm just going to put it in my trimmer and trim off a little bit to clean up that edge. So when I go back to use this piece, if I'm using it as like a photo mat or something, I don't look at it later on and go, why do I have things that are jagged edges? Because I didn't trim it now. So I do that right now, so that way I don't forget and come back later. So now I keep that parchment paper covered cardboard, and I can utilize it and apply my repositionable adhesive to this, to all 6 of these, get them all kind of ready to go and lined up on my paper. So I just lay them all down and I put Repo all the way across. So I love my parchment paper on my cardboard. And there was a time where I kept on burying it on my table, so I ended up continually making additional ones. So I have a couple of them on my table at any time. So if you are like to have your pages really symmetrical, you can definitely use the mat to get these lined up. So depending on how close to the edge you're going to want it to be, and you can start it all, really close to the edge. You can move it a little farther away from the edge. I found when I was making it.
Kari, we can't see what you're doing. You're off
Oh,
camera.
sorry. Well, The distance from the edge doesn't really matter. Unless, depending on your layout, if you have a lot of photos that you're trying to fit in, because you have plenty of room with those 6 inches. Okay, so if you're going to snug it up, I started this one where the center of my chain was 1 inch from the edge. On my original layout, I went over closer to 2 inches from the edge. So in the one, I moved it pretty far in, and on this one, I've got it pretty far over. So either way, I think it's going to work. If you're not using the mat in order to help you figure out where you want these pieces to go, I am going to, oh God, tilted. I suggest that when you're trying to line them up, if you really want them to be symmetrical, it is very helpful to rotate your other paper and put them above and below, so that way you've got them about the same distance. So either measure it or line it up like this. But again, there's no specific measurement on their layout. And like I said, I started it at 1 inches on the one, I started at 2 inches on the other. I don't think it really matters. All right, so I think we'll pause the recording so people can assemble their layout, and if they have photos, they can put them on. And I'm gonna work on a digital version of it, but I won't record that. I'll record that as a separate video. All right, so before we wrap up for the recording, we want to take an opportunity to see everybody's layouts. I didn't have photos for this one, and I'm also working on a digital one, so I am going to go ahead and pass it over to somebody else who's here, who's been working on their layout. Who can go first?
I can go.
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll pass the spotlight over to you. Oh, how nice.
Ooh,
So I only did it
About
on
that.
I only did it on one side,
Yeah,
and
that looks great.
the BMC I used,
It looks
I
like
think
that
it's supposed to
gear.
be flowers, but since
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
the St. Valentine Massacre, I thought it
Yeah.
would look like bullet holes.
Oh,
okay.
it does kind of look like bullet
Right?
holes. Right, yeah. All right, Lynn, you can share your screen.
Alrighty. Huh. It says someone else is sharing.
Mm,
Music, right?
yeah, I got it. I stopped.
Okay, it's coming up.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Pretty colors.
Ooh, lovely.
Thank you.
Nice.
So I didn't really quite have enough photos. I had another photo, but it was just like one of these other ones. So
Mhm.
I decided to fill it in with something else. And I put this little photo holder here and then just enlarged some places of the photos.
Oh, that looks cute.
Or shrunk them,
Nice.
I guess as the case may be. But
Yeah, nice. Nice, very nice. All
Thank you.
things July mixology.
Yep.
Forever digital art?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Cheryl, I'll go to your table. Ooh,
Oh,
I don't know why my
Pretty.
camera's all crooked, but
is that is that Michigan?
yes,
Ah, nice.
Michigan. Yeah. So this was an elegant diamond, and it's a border punch, so it
Mhm.
took up more room, and I spread it out. So, and then I was like, oh, I want to make it so that you can see it around the photos.
Yeah, it looks like
Very
it's a
nice.
frame. It really looks nice. Very
Like
nice.
it.
What
That was
paper
fun.
did you use to punch the border? Was it
That
cardstock?
is shimmer blue, Starry Night.
Okay.
Okay.
One
Yeah.
of the blue shimmers. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yep.
Very nice. Very nice. Oh, and I like the Total Bliss. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a
Mhm.
cute little, I don't know if you can see it, but this like a little, that was from the secret
Oh,
box.
nice.
Sky Wonders.
Hmm.
Very nice.
That was a while back.
Awesome. Okay. Anybody else?
Me,
Okay, let's see yours.
yeah.
Got it. Oh, cute.
Cute. That's the Croptoberfest paper, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good job,
I
Pam.
didn't find pictures yet, but
That's okay.
I
Nice.
think I'll use some
Nice.
fall pictures.
Yeah, that'll work. Nice. Very good. Okay. Other ladies, if you don't want to share tonight, you can always post one in the album. All right, I will share my digital one as it is. It's not quite done, but here it is right now. I'm moving more things out of the way. So
Oh, wonderful.
that's as far as I got, but
Oh, I
I'm
like-
getting there. And I used a ribbon instead.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
nice.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
So
Very nice.
thanks. All
Good.
right. So hopefully everybody who joined us this evening, as well as people who are catching the recording or catching it on YouTube, really enjoyed the layout. I enjoyed putting it together. I think it's a really versatile layout. I have a feeling some of my people here who are never going to want to cut all those triangles and assemble it again later, but I think it was still a great layout. So hope you enjoyed this. Oh, thank you so much for watching. And if you do the layout, we'd love to see it on our Facebook group, Consistently Creative Proppers. So be sure to take a picture and share it in our Facebook group. So thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Thank
Mari.
you.
Great layout.